Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for the week beginning Sunday, November 19th, 2023, ending technically Friday the 24th, but not really. This is my favorite week of the year, Thanksgiving. I love it for a lot of reasons. My favorite meal, but also because it's the shortest week of the year from a trading perspective for us. Markets are obviously closed Thursday for Thanksgiving. There's a half day on Friday that nobody with a brain shows up to really trade. And people head out Wednesday for the busiest travel day of the year. So really, we've got Monday and Tuesday. Monday is the first day of a new option cycle since we just got through the boring expiration here on Friday. And hopefully a little bit on Monday, something good on Tuesday to make us a green week. We'll maybe show up early Wednesday, and then that's it. We've got until the following Monday off. Here's a look at the euro dollar futures. Euro has climbed back up as the dollar's gotten a bit weaker here. Possibly signaling higher interest rates around the world, lower interest rates here in the U.S. Again, pound dollar futures, same story. Made a move up this week, and we do obviously offer the our futures levels now for the euro and the pound, as well as Bitcoin and some of the others. Also, keep an eye out for our Black Friday specials coming out this week, obviously. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market in futures form. And as you can see, we're back near the highs of the market, like nothing ever happened. So we're within striking distance. And remember, we're at that time of year, right around now, the middle of November. If you're up for the year, and we are, I mean, look at the far left of the chart. That's where we started the year. So, we're up. I mean, it's only about, just over 12%. But it's still up for the year. People don't tend to want to sell their stocks, especially the bigger tech stocks that are up probably even more on a percentage basis. We'll look at that in a minute. People don't tend to want to sell their stocks before the end of the year and lock in the tax gains. So you often get what we call the Santa Claus rally. And as we head to Thanksgiving, that's about the time we determine that. So unless there's obviously some major incident in the world, something very negative that happens, it looks like we might be in for such a rally, and we'll see, and maybe even close out the year near the highs. We'll have to see. There's some other factors as well, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Here's the S&P cash, so obviously the same thing, very close to the highs and up. And the S&P cash, by the way, when you look at the cash and not the adjusted futures, up about 20% now for the year. Here's the 10-minute chart of the ES. So the far left of the chart is that very end of a week ago Thursday, then Friday, which was a rally day. So Monday, small gap down, filled the gap, then just dead flat. Couldn't have been more of a waste of a day. Then Tuesday morning before the market, we got that big important CPI number because it was down for inflation, and they've got the big gap up in the market. And here's the problem. Then we rallied for about an hour, and then the entire rest of the week. Notice the 13 sell signal right at the high on Wednesday, but the entire rest of the week is just dead flat from that point. So that was kind of a wasted week. And, with options expiration, it is what it is. Maybe you got the unraveling in the Tuesday gap and move, but, nothing happened on Thursday and Friday. So that's kind of uneventful. Here's the NASDAQ futures. Pretty much the same story, obviously. All right, so let's take a look now at Bitcoin. Which has obviously rallied. Now, the daily chart of Bitcoin futures or Bitcoin itself, a couple days up, and we'll have a 13 sell signal on Bitcoin. It'll be the first one in a while there. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But it has rallied, obviously. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, never quite got the 13, as you can see, but it's rallied off the lows. Bonds up, rates down a bit. Could be good for the housing market and whatnot. The VIX closes at 1378. It's a very low volatility number. Not really something we like to see. We want more action in the market, and you're not going to get it with a VIX sitting down under 15 anywhere. The advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ, back and forth every day, but more positive than negative this week. Big, strong day. The strongest day of the year, really, on that gap up on Tuesday, then Wednesday not so much. Thursday negative, and Friday back up. The trend closes at... the 10-day moving average of the trend, which is the orange line, closes at 1.12. That's the 10-day moving average. So, again, unless you dip under that blue line, which is the 0.85 with the moving average, you've really got no sell signal on the broad market from that. Again, we've already looked at the futures here. So, all right. And then finally, here's a look at some of our key stocks. Actually, let's start with Apple. One thing about Apple I did want to point out, it's rallied back up. It's not at the highs yet. But if I go to the weekly chart of Apple, this is what's interesting. Apple's obviously one of the bigger stocks in the market, one of the leaders. And if we get about another 2 weeks up, let's say, maybe 1 week up, we just have to get above that 8 on the red count, we would have a 13 sell signal on the weekly. And these weekly charts are very, very powerful, obviously. We've seen it many times. So, a sell signal on Apple would be significant. You don't really see it on most of the other big tech stocks. Well, there's one on Amazon, by the way, as I say that. There's one on Amazon. But it hasn't rallied nearly as much as Apple. It's not near highs, right? So the daily chart of Amazon is at highs here, but not near all-time highs. Meta near highs on the daily chart. Let's just take a look at the weekly. There's a 13 sell signal there on the weekly already. So, again, some of these key stocks, key tech stocks, this is your only caveat because these 13 sell signals, when they're on a big time frame like the weekly, they have been very important to watch. Here's Google, obviously, and when I look at Google on the weekly chart, there's no count here. So Google had the 13 buy signal right down there at the low back in, many months ago, back in probably March, and has rallied ever since. But there's no sell signal on this one like there is on Apple, Amazon, and Meta. Goldman Sachs, kind of mid-range for the year, nothing super special. No counts at all on the weekly chart. Netflix almost back to highs, and on the weekly chart, nothing important there yet. Usually we don't flip back and forth the weekly, but I had noticed these earlier. The daily chart of Tesla, obviously not that great, not that strong, so there's no count there yet from an exhaustion perspective. Nvidia near the high, or at the highs basically this week, and the weekly count is not at a 13, it's at 7. So it's really Amazon, Apple, and Meta either have or are about to throw their weekly sell signals. Zoom actually had that weekly buy signal because it got so low, which is kind of interesting. But of course, it's just Zoom at this point. So again, let's keep an eye on that type of stuff because what we have seen, for example, if I go to this chart here, let's just take a quick look at FSLR. Many of you remember the money that we can make on this. This is the weekly chart of FSLR, and look at that 13 sell signal on the weekly back in late April, early May, and that thing's obviously topped out right there. So, we'll have to see what this leads to. But right now, there's several. That's the one caveat I have about anything going on in the market. Obviously, is just those 13 sell signals on 3 of the bigger stocks that are out there that we always like to follow. So it'll be interesting. In terms of economic data coming out this week, remember it's a short week. So Monday, no data here in the U.S., strangely. Nothing at all. Oh, sorry, the CB leading index at 10 a.m. Tuesday, we've got the trade balance out of Switzerland, CPI data out of Canada at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, existing home sales, which is a minor number here in the U.S., at 10 a.m. Wednesday, we've got the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers. That's a day early, Wednesday instead of Thursday because of the holiday. And the durable goods orders at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then revised University of Michigan sentiment at 10. That's usually a Friday number, but they're squeaking that out early because of the holiday. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. Natty gas at noon. They're squeaking that one out a day early because of the holiday. Obviously, we do have some data around the world in terms of flash manufacturing and services PMI numbers on Thursday, but not here in the U.S. because of the bank holiday and Thanksgiving and the markets being closed. And then Friday, with that little half day that nobody really takes seriously, we've got the flash manufacturing and services numbers, PMI numbers here in the U.S. So it's going to be a very light week for data. I don't even know that you'd really focus on much. And like I said, the big thing is that Monday, maybe first day of a new option cycle. Tuesday, hopefully some action. Wednesday, everybody's on the road and flying around the world. Thursday closed, Friday half day, and we will go from there. So I hope everybody has a happy Easter. Happy Thanksgiving. And charts as usual brought to you by NinjaTrader. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks, and certainly right now with the end of the year coming and some excitement, hopefully looming, and Black Friday specials, we'll have something for you. Have a great weekend and a great short week.